Hey there, thanks for checking this out. Okay, so this is a quick rundown of another game I did, and this is probably one of the more complete ones. This was pretty ambitious in its scope. I want to make tutorials for Game Maker Studio 2, and I thought, well, I'm good at shooters, but there's tons of shooter tutorials out there, except that most of them are pretty lacking. They're just the very minimalist, most basic possible thing. And so I made this game to be a full course, like a full 5 course meal. It's a little over the top, so I'm gonna do a quick little rundown over it. There you can see the wonderful credits. You can do options. Okay, so check this out. You can adjust the sound, you can adjust the music. I'm gonna turn those down a little bit for the sake of this video. And then you can also adjust the background alpha. I've recently been studying up and hearing there's a lot of people who are maybe colorblind or have certain sensitivities visually that make it so that aspects of video games are very hard to follow or deal with. And there's this game called Eagle Island, and the guy, like, after hearing about this, went back and changed his game and made it so that you can have like white outlines around all the characters and the backgrounds can be solid black, and you can get rid of screen shake. So I made it so that you can turn screen shake on and off, rumble on your controller on or off. He just did a really admirable job of making sure that everybody could play his game, and obviously too, that's a really good business decision, because there's probably lots of people who, you know, are like, oh, that game looks cool, but I got sick every time I watched the screen shake or something like that, and they're just not going to enjoy it. So these kinds of forgot what it's called, I'm drawing total blank, but accessibility features is a really considerate and profitable thing to do. So I made it so that you could adjust the background alpha, adjust the music and sound. So I'm going to turn this up so that you can see what I was working with. But here's a quick rundown. Well, it's not really that quick, but here's a rundown of Cyberspace Shoot 'em Up. Now, it's called Cyberspace, and a lot of these old retro games and stuff, you know, they were made, the original games that I'm mimicking were made in the 80s and 90s, and so you had these kind of wacky, zany ideas of like what computers were like and what the internet was like. If you ever saw the show Reboot, there was literally a guy with a surfboard who could surf the web, and he was like an antivirus program or something like that. And it was just kind of like this fun, bizarre idea of like this, you know, Tron is the same way. Just weird ideas about what the internet was like. So the idea here is that there is a virus in a computer, and it's in cyberspace. So it's a space shooter because it takes place in cyberspace. And so you could choose between these 4 characters, and each one imitated a different like franchise. So Arrow Fight over here is just your most basic shooter. It's pretty generic, but it's a very capable machine. Lightning imitates Lightning Force. Viper imitates Gradius and Life Force on the Nintendo. Viper, of course, being named as such because of the Vic Viper, which is the name of the ship in Gradius. And then Ika, named after Ikaruga. And so you've got this one. And I also, because I love Contra and stuff, this one, like, you can see that, like, when it shoots, it's got like all the shell casings flying out. And that is definitely something, whenever I do a Contra style game, I'm going to make it so that like bullet shells are flying all over the place. And so this one can power up its ship. It can also repel. It can bounce bullets back. It can speed up. It's got power-ups. And it can also get new weapons. So this is like a piercing shot. Here is like a grenade shot. And here's spread gun, like classic Contra style spread gun. And then my favorite was the homing missiles. And you might have noticed the background's supposed to look like circuitry, and when the enemies explode, they turn into zeros and ones. They turn into binary code, and then they zip over to you. They stretch out as they come over to you. We've got the mini boss here. I'm pointing at the screen like you can see what I'm doing because I'm an idiot. The mini boss here is actually a USB drive. And there's actually a small amount of AI going on. If he lines up with you, and then he changes the kind of shot he has. And then this is like Skyforce, that game Skyforce Deluxe or whatever, where you can collect stars to pay for things in the shop to upgrade your ship, and you can also like increase the magnetism of your ship so that you can absorb stars from further away. So you might notice they like kind of zip over to you, but you have to be close enough. You also might have noticed that these stars keep moving on the left half of the screen. The thing on the right, the galaxy on the right is actually just an image going across, and this is a background on the left. Because when I made this game, I didn't know how to manipulate that stuff very well, so here we are. And it looks weird if you pause it. But anyway, so we've got all these kind of unique patterns for all these bad guys. You might have noticed that the little like fuchsia and blue ships are actually just exclamation marks. They're like kind of the little icon that pops up when there's a problem on your computer. These orbs that are shooting at me are kind of a play on the World Wide Web thing. So like everything was like meant to be kind of a computer adjacent thing. So like right now you've got these gears that come flying at you, and those are the settings gears. I forgot that I also have a charge shot. This is it's supposed to be a graphics card, and it actually has 3 stages. Because I had played Cuphead right before this, and I noticed that all of their bosses have like certain amount. They have like stages that they attack you in. Okay, and you can see like it's smoldering and it's kind of like flickering, and it's got a new attack pattern. And even though these bullets, I don't have any like way to absorb these bullets for this character, like there is another ship that can absorb these. Oh, you might notice, okay, this is really subtle, but this has bullet grazing in it. I forgot about that. So if a bullet passes within like 5 or 10 pixels of the ship, you can see a little spark go between the ship and the bullet, and then that gives you like charge shots, kind of. So like real subtle. You can kind of see like, and then there's like the charge shots. Because I was bullet grazing, you can see a little spark. There you go. And then it's supposed to be like at the end it shows the mainframe or whatever, like the computer board, the motherboard from the beginning, and it goes from red to green, showing that you defeated the virus. And it gives you your stats at the end, because I like having stats. So it's got like your score, your shots fired, hit, missed, enemies created, destroyed, missed, bullets grazed, and power-ups. And then we've got the lightning, which I think is a better design for a ship. And you can just change your weapons willy-nilly, and they're really weak in the beginning, but you can power them up. So now you can see like the shotgun, or the spread gun goes a little further. There are more homing bullets. You can absorb bullets, but that doesn't do anything. It's just like a shield that defends you. I'm actually going to turn the game down because I think hopefully it's not louder than me talking. But yeah, so now I've got like 4 shots. This like I call sniper shot, and it just kind of like goes through everything. And like when you've got like the absorb button, you actually cannot like spam it. Like it's set on a timer. And the only way you can do it twice like in a row is if you actually connect with something. So like you can see I can do like 2 of those real quick. But if you're just trying to spam it, you actually have to wait. Actually, like, you've got a little bit of influence on the background when you move up or down. And then the background, as you can see, is like kind of turning red, which is supposed to signify that you're getting close to the bad guy. And then it fades out, and of course, here's the boss. There we go. And I accidentally hit the button, but alright, so do this one real quick. This one's kind of the hardest to play as, so I actually added a charge shot to it. But like in Gradius, you have to... Let's see if I can do this without... Okay, so now I've got like an option, like from the Gradius games. And it can shoot too, and it can also absorb bullets. So like you're safer having lots of those. Let's speed up a little bit. But they will not shoot a charge shot, they'll just shoot the regular one. Let's see. Let's see if I can get another. There we go. So now I've got 3. I think I can. There's enough here to get 4. And then I can get like 1 more power up. So now I've got 4 sniper shots, so I'm just going to destroy this one. Actually, it's absurd how quickly I killed it. But anyway, yeah. In Gradius 3, you can actually kill certain bosses with like 2 or 3 hits if you have like the right power up. And then here's like the Ikaruga inspired one. And of course, this served as the basis for the next project I worked on, which was Arugaki. All you can do with this guy is switch, shoot, and absorb bullets. Ah, I died. Forgot they shoot random colored bullets, and so you can't really be sure what you're going up against. These guys always shoot blue though, so you're good to absorb everything they got. I was really happy at the way that, like, let's see if I can get this. Okay, so if you'll notice, when you shoot things with the homing shot, they kind of like fly, like little parts of it kind of fly out the back end of it. I think it looks really good. And go into this boss with this pretty good amount of homing shots. Oh, he got me. Oh, I died. Yeah, that's kind of the hardest ship to play as because it only has 1 hit. Alright, but anyway, that is Cyberspace Shoot 'em Up, a game I worked on a while back. And it kind of paved the way to the Arugaki game. I had planned on making this a tutorial series, like I said, so that people could learn how to make pretty much any kind of shooter, but then kind of realized that is a massive amount of work. And like I buy all these tutorial videos and stuff on udemy.com, and if I see a class that's like 50 hours long, I'm like, nah, it's too big of an investment. I want to stick with something that's like 5 to 12 hours long so I don't lose interest in it halfway through and then never really learn anything. I want stuff that's kind of bite-sized. And I thought that doing all of the different characters would just prove to be too long. So I just honed it down to what is the most popular shooter of all time and that is consistently considered Ikaruga. So it's like, okay, well, there's not a lot of Ikaruga games in the marketplace. And as I'm sure you're full well aware that like a lot of the most popular games on Kickstarter and indie games and stuff are ones that imitate old games. You know, you've got like Bloodstained, which is a throwback to Castlevania, Mighty Number 9, which was kind of crapped its pants there, kind of crapped the bed, but it was a throwback to Mega Man. And there's tons of games that are throwbacks to other games. I read this book on, like, I think it was on building good habits or something. But anyway, they were talking about what makes a good song, and they were talking about these guys developed this formula to try to decide what constitutes like the best new song and will be the most popular. And there was some song by Outkast that was this like original masterpiece that they loved, and it scored the highest rating possible on their test, and they were like, this is it, this is going to be the big one. And then it just kind of flopped and nobody really liked it. And they, after all this testing, they decided that it was actually way too original and it wasn't very good, and all these mediocre songs were blowing up the charts. And they decided after a while that one of the things that determines popularity is what reminds people of things that they already like. And so being totally original in the long run, in the very long distance run, might be a really good choice because it's really cool and it might be a trendsetter in the future. But more reliably, what people want is just something that reminds them of what they're already into. So, yeah, that's why I went with the Ikaru game. It's the most popular. I like Life Force and Gradius and stuff, but they are flawed because you can power up your ship to be just almost invincible. Almost. And you'll get really far until you die. And then all of a sudden, being almost invincible wasn't good enough to beat one of those later stages, and you have to start back at square one with nothing, and then you might as well just basically hit reset. So anyway, there's some more insights into what I've been working on. I hope you got something from this. Thanks, bye.